Almost one-third of non-executive board directors at companies listed at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange are currently female. This is according to the 2021 research carried out by company Business Engage. It released a report titled Status of Gender on the JSE Listed Boards. The company has in the past 5 years been studying opportunities for gender balancing the boards of companies listed on the exchange in efforts to close the gender gap. The released report also shows that approximately 1 in 4 women are holding positions at the financial directors at the JSE.
South Africa is closing the gap, the gender gap at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. This is where we saw various companies that are listed there at the JSE gathered today at the Development Bank of Southern Africa right here in Midrand to take stock of where we are. This is an initiative that we're coming to you live from that was kick-started in 2017, already 5 years ago, by Business Engage, in terms of them just carrying out researches in them, just doing surveys and finding out where we are. The gender agenda is something that can never be avoided here in South Africa, and women inclusion is something that a lot of companies and those listed at the JSE have been pushing for quite some years now. And Business Engage has been engaging with them as well. There are human resources, departments as well, to find out where we are right now in terms of ensuring that women are strategically placed in positions of power, in board of directors there, positions at the JSE, and it seems like we're making progress where this is concerned. The country is not where it's supposed to be, but there's little progress that has been made looking at 5 years ago in 2017 when this study was initiated to where we are right now. They actually backdated it to 2021 going into 2022. I'm going to bring in Colleen Larson now. She's the CEO or the Chief Executive of Business Engage, and you guys are the ones that actually were championing this study and research, just trying to find out really where we are in terms of what's happening at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and if women are really being put, at the positions of power there in the pedestal and not left behind where the transformation agenda of the country is concerned. Welcome to the SABC.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. And yes, absolutely. From a Business Engage perspective, we always like to look at the positives. We all know that we aren't there yet, but if we look at the 5 years journey, there has been progress made in every single aspect. So in terms of non-executive directors, I think you must, though, realize that we are only tracking those companies that are in good standing on the JSE. So when you look at our stats, they are on a smaller number of the companies. But we are looking at, if you look at the non-executive directors, we're now sitting at a third of non-executive directors. And no, we aren't at the parity that we're looking at. But you've got to start somewhere. And for us, it's what we call a key evolution. Key evolution meaning we don't want an evolution. If you look at some of the reports, it's going to take us 200 years to get to parity. But we don't want it to be a revolution because corporate South Africa will not be able to cope with that. So how do we do this quick evolution that is sustainable and moves in the right direction? And we get down to the specifics of what we have to look at in order to move that dial a bit further.
Just let us in on, the companies that you engaged. You say there are companies that are in good standing there at the JSE, meaning that not all companies were actually engaged here in terms of how are they faring. What have been, the outcomes of that? What are you picking up from these companies, maybe the stumbling blocks that more or less are seeing them not able to make sure that women are placed in those positions and in board of directors positions in the companies that are listed there at the JSE. What are they saying to you?
Well, essentially in some of the companies, it's what our conversation was about today as well, is the fact that we are looking at averages and we're not getting down to the specifics of the data. So when you are looking at the data that we are able to now secure, it's from the integrated annual report. So what is the company saying? However, are they actually doing what they're saying? Now, for us, it's very, very important that this report is not a standalone. It's part of a much bigger program that we are running in corporates. And that is the only way you can move the dial. When it becomes a concerted, deliberate effort of corporate South Africa to work together to change the narrative. We are moving in the direction of where we want to make Africa the gender hub, where we export stories. And we can only do that by having the success that we're looking at. But it's not something that we have to have a revolution overnight, but it's got to be that deliberate, consistent impact that we are having. And the corporates, we've got 110 corporates, most of them large and listed, that are part of our movement. And all of them working together inspire each other to go and do a lot more.